What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing more on the possible horrifying secrets of Dulce Base. I started this off kind of randomly to see where it led me. It was kind of, I don't want to say an automatic writing thing, but it was something I was kind of compelled to discuss with you guys, and I didn't know where to start. So if you bear with a little bit of rambling, because I always do that at the beginning anyway, I would really appreciate it. So let's just jump right in. I've been covering a lot of material on all different types of extraterrestrials and everything and anything I can get my hands on around and regarding them lately, if you guys haven't noticed. I've covered reptilians and greys, hybrid programs, shadow people, and abduction/encounter stories. I have even given a platform for you guys to get your own experiences, good or bad, out there with my listener encounter series and so much more. I mean, it's almost become a new addiction for me at this point. An obsession, if you will. Why though, right? I'm not really sure myself, except to say that I honestly feel lately as though I'm being led to something much bigger, so much bigger than I can possibly understand or wrap my mind around right now. I've even uncovered bits and pieces of repressed memories of abductions and healings, and also even more recently, I keep getting tiny clips just for a millisecond when I'm doing random things of conversations and visitations of contact I've made with all sorts of otherworldly and extraterrestrial beings during sleep. I can't explain it all to you guys yet. As I lead up to initiating contact in what I hope will be this summer, I need to take some time to sift through some of the information I've been coming across and see how much of it, all of it, I actually believe. Now, despite the title of this, please do not think for a second I am trying to tell you guys what to think or feel about anything I'm going to discuss here today. As always, that's up to you guys. I don't judge you. I'm not trying to make you guys agree with anything, but these are my thoughts on a specific matter as I do in my videos. So just go with the flow, have fun with it, be respectful to others, yourself, and me in the comments, and that's all I ask. What I'm simply trying to do is go through all of this, some of this, and figure it out, because the information I have is so massive, I'm not even sure anymore if it's possible for me to present it to all of you guys. And if it were possible, it would take up more than a short video like this, but maybe someday, meaning the bits and pieces of information that I've been receiving. Maybe once I get a better grasp and understanding on what I'm being used for and led to, and then I can give you guys all of the details as I'm sure of them. What I do promise, though, is that as I find things out and make certain connections, I will bring you guys along for the ride with me and keep you posted on all of it, only asking in return that you do the same for me if you, too, are being led in the same direction. For the rest of you who may not be personally interested or invested in UFOs and those who come to visit them, just sit back and hopefully be entertained. Here it is, just a tiny bit of what I've come across in my research and what I feel I should and possibly shouldn't be believing, because I'm still on the fence. Some of it is so contradictory. I just don't know. When we speak on and discuss supernatural or paranormal entities, I am beginning to see that I would be hard-pressed to find a group more parasitic in nature than some extraterrestrials. Of course, I don't mean all species and breeds of them. I'm only going on encounters and things I've gotten from you guys personally or on the internet, but it just seems as though a lot of them are not very symbiotic in their relationships with us. They experiment on us. They implant strange tech inside of our bodies. They allegedly steal our unborn children and implant us with others too. It's only within this community where we see deeply disturbing and extremely troubling reports coming in about things being done and having happened that almost certainly were attempted to have been covered up by any number of governmental agencies around the world. I'll go out on a limb here and say the United States especially has some explaining to do. I am a firm and absolute believer in the Eisenhower administration having sold humans to extraterrestrials for abduction and all kinds of unnamed horrors in exchange for tech, and most likely at the threat of the Russians receiving the tech first and being offered this bizarre exchange as well. But I digress. That's for another time and video altogether. With that being said, I think it's safe to assume that most government entities we are supposed to be able to trust to protect us would want to cover up what would surely be a mass panic and hysteria if the public were to ever find out and be able to prove even a handful of the encounters and stories we've been hearing about for the better part of a half a century or possibly even longer now. When speaking of what I'll refer to as quote-unquote the UFO phenomenon, I'll admit it's very multifaceted and multidimensional, contradictory, as I said, as well. What I mean by that is there's just so much to it, and more is added every single day all over the world. Crop circles, abductions, UFO landings, close encounters of the first kind, second kind, third kind, fourth kind, and now fifth kind, the hybrids, interactions of any kind between humans and ETs, men in black threats, people who supposedly took their own lives actually haven't been murdered for what they knew about all of this. I mean, as I said before, the list goes on and on. Even MIB reports, BEK sightings, and the generally strange and fascinating that can't be pigeonholed to fit into any other supernatural or otherworldly phenomenon kind of just fits in here. I am off to a really rough start, and I really hope I'm making sense here. What I'm trying to get across here is that what is already known is so incredibly massive, whether it can be proven or not. Let's discuss the things that are allegedly and most likely taking place behind the scenes. The happenings that surely have been and will continue to be, at least for the most part, swept under the giant rug of conspiracy and speculation. All of these things, which are basically hidden in plain sight, swept under a rug that's covered only by a very thin veil of what separates the lies and the truth, and what separates us as the human race, humanity, from them, the fact from the fiction, and so on. What I'm about to bring to you all are things that for seemingly good reason are kept from the public view, and that's that many people who are in the know, whether government entities or people in the ufology field, don't know how to handle it themselves, let alone are they able to wrap their heads around how your average citizen might take it. There are very good and credible reasons for us to believe, especially here in this community, that the phenomenon of UFOs and the extraterrestrials that come along with them does have an extremely dark and sinister, oftentimes really terrifying side to it. It's not all helping us shift collective consciousness and reconnect to God source or God consciousness, right? It's not all of that. So, okay. Okay. What am I waiting for? Let's get to the point, right? What sinister subtopic am I ranting and raving about here? Well, it's something that admittedly just last week in one of my videos I briefly had to mention when telling the story of someone who was supposedly working for the government and who claimed this extremely sinister aspect to the whole thing himself. He said he saw it firsthand. He said that some extraterrestrials are, well, they're eating us. They're eating human beings. Now, I immediately dismissed the claim though, and I did admit I believed almost every other thing he reported to the public to have seen with his own eyes and been privy to during his insane tenure with a high-up government agency. I've been doing a lot of research, like I said, and it's been nagging at me to revisit this because I may have been too hasty in my initial dismissal and regarding it as just this man embellishing the facts in order to get people to listen to him. Let's stop circling around it though, and finally, let's get down to it. We are starting with a very small New Mexico town which has an almost science fiction-like story surrounding it. It's at the very heart of the, quote, aliens could very well be eating us, end quote, declaration too. As usual, does anyone really know the truth here? No, but that shouldn't make us immediately dismiss it as crazy or too outlandish. After all, let's stay cognizant of the subject matter at hand in the first place, right? It's said that there were some deliberate things done and tactics put in place in both the mid-70s and then again in the mid-90s to purposely confuse the UFO research community and the public as a whole, and to make it so most of us don't even consider or won't consider that this could in fact be going on. I want to warn you guys that some of this I already touched on last week, and that's kind of why I've been prolonging this, wondering if it was worth the eye rolls and having to hear that I'm repeating videos in order to take another look at what exactly Phil Schneider said regarding Dulce and the alleged underground base there. Now, I have been told to pronounce it Dulce, 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 Dulce. You've all told me I was wrong and gave me a new way of pronouncing it, so I'm saying Dulce. I'm sorry if that's a mispronunciation. Please try your best not to let your delicate little hearts, if that's something that you would get offended over, get offended, because I never mean any offense. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. I live in New Jersey. And I say it like that because I got a lot of crap for the way I pronounced it, even though I tried to pronounce it 20 different ways. Okay, moving on, Gemma. Dulce is in Rio Arriba County and is a very small town of approximately a little less than 3,000 residents. It's 13 square miles around and is the home of the Jicarilla Apache Nation. Dulce was founded in the later part of the 19th century and is, seemingly at least upon first glance, almost boringly ordinary. Take a closer look though, and you may be shocked and possibly even frightened at what you just might see. Since the late 1970s, there have been rumors circulating around this tiny town, though, that would make your head spin and your stomach turn if you even decided to entertain the notion of believing in them. It's been alleged that deep within the Archuleta Mesa, which admittedly takes up most of the town's square mileage, there lay a very futuristic and extremely secret underground facility, or lair if you want to put it that way, if that's what you prefer, that even the United States main government entities aren't privy to or even the slightest bit aware of. It's said even today that these particular subterranean quarters are under the complete and total control of a very hostile and very dangerous group of extraterrestrials. So they're in control. They took control. Now, I've spoken about the Greys a lot on my channel, and again, I did so just very recently, last week. What I didn't do, but I said I eventually would, is make the distinction between the several different types of this particular extraterrestrial entity, and I would like for you to keep that in mind today. All of the good things I said last week about these beings do not, obviously, pertain to the ones that I'm speaking about today. They are separate types who look almost exactly the same. So the ones who are said to have dominion over not only the 7-story tall base, which is completely and totally hidden underground, are described almost the same way. These ones are more dwarfish, though, and not particularly tall like we've discussed, and have giant black and soulless eyes and extremely large heads. Yes, the ones that basically dominate our modern-day culture, and which are the ones at first glance that pop into most people's minds when someone says the word alien, extraterrestrial, abduction, UFO, ... etc. Legend has it that in 1979, an all-out war broke out between the aliens and military personnel. It was a violent confrontation, and the human beings were the ones who unfortunately lost. It's claimed the base was this giant place where humans and aliens interacted and worked together on a regular basis. It was explained as though, to the human personnel with high enough clearances to have access to the underground base, it was like just another day at the office once they swiped their ID and clearance badge and started their work for the day. Totally normal, running into and even working with extraterrestrial entities, right? Completely normal. Why not? So, after this battle where there were many human casualties, the ETs took the place over. There are some witnesses who came forward, mostly anonymously, for fear of the very real threat of losing their lives and possibly the lives of their family and loved ones for their disclosure of such top-secret military secrets, and they claimed that there were dozens upon dozens of rooms across 7 stories and literal caverns where human beings were now being held for extraterrestrial experimentation and also as a menu option for snacks and meals. They were allegedly devouring the human beings who were left working there or trapped down there after that battle in '79, who were never seen again by anyone else or others who were trapped there for the same nefarious purposes. So, is this all true, and where did the stories come from? I'll tell you what I know to the best of my ability of what I could find in my research. It wasn't easy because a lot of it has been embellished for dramatic flair since the invention of the internet, and also how society views extraterrestrials and so-called whistleblowers now, right? It's such a welcome topic that anyone will come out of the woodwork and say literally anything to get attention and possibly a book deal. There was a company we're going to talk about here that existed in the 1970s called Thunder Scientific, and it was run by a man named Paul Benowitz, so I guess we should just start there. This company was located in Albuquerque, and more specifically was backed up right against, like the property lines I assume, the extremely well-guarded and super secretive Kirtland Air Force Base. It was a year before the alleged battle that Paul began to start hearing the rumors of possible UFO sightings and extraterrestrial abductions in, near, and around the Albuquerque area. He already had this really keen interest in the whole world of extraterrestrials, as taboo and unaccepted as it was at the time, and took even more of an interest when he heard of such things happening right around where his business was located. Late into the night and into the very early hours of the morning, Paul started to notice more and more strange-looking non-military aircraft flying over the Air Force Base. Paul also kept some sort of radio equipment, and at the same time as he was seeing these crafts, he was picking up some rather strange frequencies and signals too. Once he started asking questions, and he was getting all types of interesting answers by way of accounts from people in Albuquerque and to the north of their alleged abductions and sightings and radio signals being picked up just like his, he was picked up by unnamed intelligence officers who worked for an unknown or unnamed branch of either military or the government, and he was grilled about what he knew. He reported later on that their main concern seemed to be the growing number of alleged abductees in the area and what he may have known or come across about that specific topic. Who was telling him what about being abducted? The claims were that these people were actually being kidnapped and experimented upon in some of the most bizarre and horrific ways a human being can imagine. More specifically, most of the experimentation is said to have been in the nature of genetics. Surprise. Once he convinced these men that he knew nothing other than the rumor and speculation that everyone else was hearing and let go, he continued his research and asked around about what could possibly be going on. He didn't let up, and it became somewhat of an obsession for him at this time. The conclusion he came to may sound bizarre, especially considering what we think we know about extraterrestrials today and their purposes here. He believed that a race of extremely bloodthirsty and violent extraterrestrials were getting ready to take over Earth and enslave the human race. He somehow determined that they were going to do this from their underground lair that lay right below Dulce military base. No word on how he figured this out or what his thought processes was at the time that led him here, but there it is. This is when he put together a dossier on everything he found and thought, and literally every piece and scrap of information he had on all of this, and he called it Project Beta. He then got to work, and remember, this was 1978, mailing copy after copy of this gigantic report to the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA. He seriously believed the end was getting nearer and nearer as each day passed, and that human enslavement was imminent and right around the corner. He mailed these documents to every single military branch and base, and even to the White House. He wrote that the public and people everywhere had to be warned, and immediately. Despite the time and how we know in most cases someone like this would be written off, the opposite happened, and Paul Benowitz was actually able to establish a secret partnership and contact with unnamed intelligence agents at Kirtland Air Force Base. He was not only told by these agents, off the record of course, that he was indeed on the right track, but he was also warned that he needed to immediately stop his research and fade back into the background as quietly as possible, or his life and the lives of those he loved could and most likely would be at severe, dangerous risk. These kind of veiled and quiet threats to keep his mouth shut and move along like a good little citizen only made him more eager to get to the bottom of things and to warn the American public and possibly even the world at any cost and as soon as possible. The intelligence at Kirtland were almost laughably begging him to just shut up, like, please just stop talking about this, like, just stop. He didn't listen, though. Some of the agents, though, were happy he was doing what he was doing, if not perhaps a bit stupid and gambling with his life, and they told him more and more about what was really going on. So he was basically being fed information from some of these agents about what was happening underneath the base in Dulce, allegedly. One of these bits of information was that the extraterrestrials were holding thousands of people captive down there and literally eating them. Paul started becoming paranoid and a bit crazed after hearing all of this. I mean, can we really blame this guy? I mean, I feel a little weird about it now, and it's how many years later. These reports weren't coming from your average people off the streets or even alleged abductees, but from actual government officials who had the clearance to know what they were really talking about. Unfortunately, and I say this not only because it's a shame when something like this happens to anyone, but also because of what it ended up doing to his credibility and in turn to the community here at large, he became so unhinged and maniacal about his beliefs and thoughts and truths, he ended up being hospitalized in a psych ward in a nearby hospital. He basically had a complete mental breakdown and was treated for extreme stress and anxiety, major anxiety. Go figure, right? Go figure. Paul eventually did recover in the hospital, thank goodness, but once he got out, he was a changed man. He kept as far away as he could from anything having to do with extraterrestrials, Dulce Base, and ufology in general. He had finally given up for fear of losing his sanity, let alone his life. As he got older and right up into the last days of his life, Paul wasn't sure if he was being given some misinformation to force him into that mental breakdown so he would stop searching for answers, or if these unnamed officials he had been corresponding with were actually telling him what was really happening in a true confidence and he just couldn't handle it. This is where Paul's story and this video ends, but I will say this, guys. Phil Schneider came along allegedly a year later after Paul was first led on to what might have been going on under Dulce, and he said he was a part of that battle, and I talk about that more in my last video called Meet the Greys. He also said he saw these aliens eating human beings, including infants and pregnant women. He was murdered by the government, allegedly, come for me if you want to, but I said allegedly, right? and it was made to look like he had done it himself. I'm still not sure if I can wrap my head around all of this going on, right? I mean, this was allegedly happening in the late 70s, so why haven't they taken over yet? I said it before and I'll say it again. What are they waiting for if the enslavement of the human race is their ultimate goal? Surely it's not so we can become so advanced in our technology, weaponry, or even our spirituality that we would be more formidable opponent and put up a better fight, ensuring more loss of life for them, or possibly that they can't overtake and enslave us. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and spread the love by sharing this video. Also, again, let's discuss in the comments. If you would like a personal intuitive oracle reading from me, please email me your first name and birth date to MoonBearOracle@gmail.com. For the month of May, I'm doing them for donation only, which means I do the reading for you. You give me a donation of your choice. If you would like to send your encounters in with the supernatural, paranormal, otherworldly, extraterrestrial, weird, crazy, wild, and bizarre, I can't speak tonight, please send those to GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com. It doesn't matter which email you use for which, I check both. In the description box, you will find ways to donate to the channel: PayPal, Cash App, Amazon wish list gift link. I always have to say that really slow. Also, my Patreon. If you become a patron and choose to donate $20 a month or more, you will automatically, every single month, get a full personal intuitive oracle reading from me, 7 to 12, possibly 15 or more cards. Okay, and that is my gift to you. My merch is up and on Etsy. Well, most of it anyway. All the homemade stuff, the spritzes, sprays, perfumes, soaps, and lotions are coming, guys. That's a process. I have to make labels. I have to order all the packing and shipping stuff, but I'm going to make it fantastic, amazing. It is homemade. I'm using moon water, my own charms, charmed and charged crystals going in the mixtures. I got free gifts for y'all. Thank you, cards. I am so excited, but it's going to take a little time. So hang tight, and I really hope you guys are as excited about that as I am. New live streams. Tuesday nights, I will be streaming live with Ghost Dragons and for now, Mr. Crowley from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, talking about things and stuff. I want to try to make it more topic-based, but we'll see how that goes. You guys can come on there and tell your encounters if you want. If you want to hang out, just ask for the link. Wednesday nights, as always, right here on Gemma Jade, myself and Ghost Dragons, I'm doing Intuitive Oracle, 1 card pulls for anyone who comes in, and that'll be a weekly reading with 1 card. First come, first serve, come one, come all. It's a great time. Saturday nights so far with Jeff Harding from Pine Island Research from 8 to 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. as well. We are going to be doing topic-based content where I bring a subject, he brings a subject, we discuss, and then we let you guys weigh in. That's another really great time. No more spaced out radio for me. You will not see me over there at all, unfortunately. So, also in the description box, you will find links for Amazon for my book, Missing the Fae Theory, Kindle and paperback version as well. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but I probably am, and I'll remember as soon as I turn the video off. Be kind to each other, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Be kind to yourselves, and always make sure that you accept nothing less than others being kind to you and respecting your boundaries. Always go in grace, smile at a stranger, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you for watching.